This episode of the Empty Netters podcast is brought to you by the cool and crisp taste of LaBatt Blue Light. Hockey season is not complete without the best beer in the game, and LaBatt Blue Light takes that title because each bottle, can, and pint is brewed with Canadian kindness, and you know that is the best kindness there ever possibly could be. LaBatt Blue Light is hockey's best beer, and it's life's best beer. So go down to the store or get onto their shop and get some LaBatt Blue Light stocked up in your fridge, whether you're watching the game in the barn, on the couch, or hanging out with the friends. No question about it, you need some LaBatt Blue Light to make everything a little bit better. Get yours today. Ice is ready, and we are back with another episode of the Empty Netters podcast, and I've got to tell you boys, I'm really happy to be here.
MLK pod.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you. Maybe it's because it's a holiday and we're not supposed to be here and it feels kind of special, but I was just buzzing to get in and talk shop with you boys today.
It's where we want to be, right?
It's where we want to be. And the three of us are alone in the office. Like usually the place is buzzing, but now it's just we get the run of the place.
I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right? It feels like we're, in high school, parents are away, we're having like a cool sleepover.
Yep.
That's
Bills were going to roll on the Steelers. I already knew that.
Yeah, that's the vibe right now. We've got a great episode today. We got Darren Dreger coming on, giving us all the scoops and all the inside tips, which is an absolute blast. Nashville was fun.
Nashville was super fun. We did, I'm sure people saw, but we did that BetMGM event. They opened their sports lounge, which is electric, no joke. I was actually dying, Blake. The staff there, the BetMGM people that were there knew us because they brought us there. The staff at the lounge are just staff. So they were
like bartenders and shit.
Yeah, and they were wicked nice, truly, all of them. But they were like, didn't know that we were there to shoot content for BetMGM. Like, that's why we're here. So, like, the third night in a row, after I've had lunch and dinner there every day, like, one of the bartenders was like, dude, you guys love this place. And I was like, oh, I'm working. Like, I'm not just...
I'm being paid to be here, sir.
Yeah.
I really love the Tabasco seasoned fries.
Fire, dude. But
so good. Are you a Tabasco fan or like a hot sauce fan?
Definitely don't have the great tolerance for it, but I definitely like it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely glad I'm not involved in your saucy predictions punishment.
I might have to add you into that now that you say it.
Yeah, people are going to be excited to watch that at the end of this episode. I was so close.
Everything with Chelios was awesome. Got more videos coming out.
Yeah, keep eyes peeled on that. We've got tons of Chelios content coming out. He's the best, dude. We're hopefully doing some stuff with him in Toronto for All-Star. But Chelly's the man. He really had a blast, which is great.
We had a great time at the Preds game. They had a sick win, unbelievable finish. Goal. They scored the game winning goal with 7 seconds left, and then an empty netter with 0.2 seconds left at the buzzer. And everyone that had the puck line, fucking unbelievable win. Everyone that I had Carlsson tease down the over to 3.5. And then that hit, dude. 2 goals in the last 7 seconds of the game. And one of my favorite parts about the whole game was we met this girl sitting in front of us named, I think her name was Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth. Shout out Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth, we were like decked out in Preds gear, knows all the Preds chants and everything. We're like big Nashville fan. And she's like, actually, no, I'm a Leafs fan and an Islanders fan, but I'm also from Florida. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, Mary.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
She bases her fandom strictly on who she has crushes on, which I think is awesome.
Yep.
It's honestly a good strategy.
Yep.
Like, I get it.
Me too.
I get it for sure.
So
I don't even want to talk about gambling because I had some good wins in there, but I had one of the worst days ever on our last day there. I just got slapped in the face 5 different ways and then had one Hail Mary bet at the end.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But I do want to talk about this new strategy.
Yep.
So we've talked about gambling and sort of sports gambling versus going and playing blackjack or roulette or something like that. And when it comes to hockey specifically, as we did with our 12 days of Betsmith, it's like I feel like I've got a good idea of what's going on out there. I feel a little bit informed with these bets. So we obviously had a frenzy day. We had all 32 teams playing the other day. Mm-hmm. Whenever there's 8 or more games, maybe 10.
8, yeah. I like 10, but I'll hear 8.
Still works with 8. Whenever there's 8 or more games, and I pop up on the BetMGM app or whatever app you're using, but if you're not using BetMGM, you're missing out. And you just hammer down all the money lines. Go through the games.
Trust your gut, dude.
Trust your gut. Who do you like? Who do you think is going to win this game? You stack up that parlay, all 10-plus game, 8-plus games, bet like $5.
Yeah.
Those odds. I mean, I did my frenzy picks, some upsets, some not. You get all those money lines odds. I bet $5. I was set to win 16 grand.
Yeah, dude. If you take one dog, like one significant dog, you can win like 33 grand.
Yeah.
Like I think mine was like 30 grand.
And this is what I did. So I picked trust in the gut. I picked my 16, bet $5. My return was $16,000. But then I did 2 other parlays with like 4 teams, more reasonable ones.
Yep.
And I lost my mega parlay. I lost one of the other ones, but I won the other one, and I made it all back.
The smaller ones win you like $20, and I'm now in 15.
Well, it depends on what you're doing, right? Like you could bet $100 and you're winning way more than that. Like I bet $20 on one of my parlays that was like plus 420 or something, and I won like $120.
Yeah, I think the point though, or at least for most gamblers, would be you want to cover the loss, So like you.
But that's what I'm doing with the smarter parlay.
Yeah, but now I don't. If I miss that one, I don't want to be like, damn, I lost $115 today. I want to lose $15 maximum.
Well, again, I did $20.
Oh,
I did
I thought you just said you bet 100.
No, I'm saying you could bet 100.
Oh, yeah.
I bet $5 on the mega one. Then I bet $10 on another one and $20 on another one. I won like 120 or something, and it covered my $35 investment.
I put a $5 on the mega, and then $5 on 3 small ones. Each of the return on these was $20.
Yeah.
Lost the mega, lost 2 of those, won the other one, made my entire $20 back for a chance to win 30 grand.
Yeah, I think prop parlays are the way to go.
Yeah.
Honestly, in football, definitely, but even in hockey, like I'm seeing like the shot prop bets, even saves for goalies, like that game that you guys were at, it was Sorokin versus Saros. Like if I were to bet on that game, my bet would have been the under. But you could also just go prop bet on both those guys for saves in the game. Probably hit that.
Yeah.
And you parlay all those together, like you said, increase those odds.
I will say on the mega, you got to go, you trust your gut, but then go against your gut on like 5 of them because you will be fucking wrong every fucking time. And you fucking loser.
This is the funny thing. Redmond was like, you'll never hit this, but I'm telling you, I will. Because again, it's not random. Like I know what I'm talking about. For example, 16 games, I got 11 right.
Yeah.
And, the ones I got wrong.
Yeah.
Like the Jets Flyers, I was like, Jets are easily winning this. They got blanked.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a world where I never win this. But I am
but one day we'll hit it, dude.
8 games or more where you'll see it. We're going to be posting it. I'm going to do this mega parlay on every single one of these.
Yep.
So here we fucking go, baby.
I love it. I'm in.
You can follow along.
You convinced
it's
me.
Be great. Let's
I've got a couple just quick hitter things I wanted to talk to John that I thought were cool.
Unless it always surprises me with quick hitter shit that just stacks up. So let's see.
I thought that's the point of no bucket warm up.
Well, we're not even in no bucky. I was about to say let's get into no bucky warm up.
Okay, that's what I want to do.
All right, let's take it to the no bucky warm up.
Can we get an update on your groin?
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
that's
are you
really
good?
Call.
Better, but to the recovery from the bull, like from the event, from the incident, was really quick. Like I went to roller because I felt okay. Like I was like, I think I feel way better. The recovery from roller has been way slower. Like I think that was not good.
Can you believe how dumb he is, dude? We're going skiing this weekend, and after the bull thing, immediately after the bull thing, he was like, I really do not want to be hurt for this ski trip. And then he plays not one game, a double header game of roller hockey last week, like a fucking moron.
He looked good. I was in the game as well.
I thought it was fine. Don't lie,
hey,
dude.
Chris was good. But then I'm like I'll go over to him like, you good? Like, 'cause he's like leaning over the boards after every shift, and I'm like, you good? Like, are you sick or something? I totally forgotten about the groin.
I was
and he's like, dude, my groin. And I'm like, holy shit, right?
God
skating.
damn it.
So I take it you're not playing beer league this week.
Dude, so I said to Dan the other day.
I literally refuse it.
I'm
gonna dump water on his gear or something.
Dude, because we're lifting and shit at the gym while we're in Nashville, and he's like, what are you doing in here? And I'm like, well, I'm not, like, I'm just lifting, it's fine. But I'm like doing some shit I probably shouldn't be doing. And then I'm like kind of limping back to our hotel room, and I go, dude, I might have to miss beer league this week. And he goes, you might have to miss beer league, you fucking idiot. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should.
When you think about a groin injury, hockey strides is like the worst thing you could possibly do. And
roller's the worst.
Dude,
that's
truly.
Just asking to blow it out.
Exactly.
Killer.
It's a nightmare.
Hey, thanks for asking.
All right, no Bucky warm up.
Yep.
Hit me with some stuff you got going.
First one, and I already said this to you, so I'm going to do it to Blake. Blake, Ovi picked up a lower body thing in the Hurricanes game a week ago or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a game time decision, 2 games in a row, played both, and then was a game time decision on Saturday or something, missed the game, and then missed today or whatever.
Yeah.
This is too hard of a trivia question, so I'm just going to tell you the answer. That is the last 2 games are the 33rd and 34th game he's ever missed due to injury in his career.
Can you believe that?
No, it's insane. I knew that stat, but it is just insane how durable he's been throughout his career and the style of play he plays. And remember how he played when he was younger too.
Yeah,
he would throw his body around like a fucking bowling ball.
Oh yeah, the man runs on Russian gas, beer, pasta,
sauce,
just all insane things surging through his veins, and that's how he does what he does. And it brings up a couple of things. One, in the Crosby OV comparison, it is not because I love it when you look at all time point leaders in the league, and they are the 2 highest in the league on the all time list, and they're right behind each other. It's like a 2-point difference. But then you look at how many more games he's played than Crosby, because Crosby's missed so many.
Crosby's missed 3 seasons due to injury in his career.
And it makes you be like, Jesus Christ, Crosby is so good.
Yeah.
But then it also makes you go, because as we always say, the best ability is availability. And that man is on the ice all the time.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Fucking awesome.
I think we're at 64 away from the record.
Yeah, that's right. But I will say this. I'm glad he's out, because I think...
You thought he's been nursing something
I think he's been nursing something all year, and I think this is making him be like, all right, dude, this is bad. Take care of it. And we might see the revival of Ovi here, hopefully.
It's almost like take a step back to take 2 steps forward.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we know you're tough, you're durable, you're this machine, but we also want you to break this record. Take a step back, take some time off.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah.
Another quick one I have, and it's just nothing. I'm just happy. Leo Carlsson's back. He played today. I don't know if he had any points.
He did not, but big 5-4 OT win.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
And, he was supposed to miss 6 weeks plus and came back in less than 4. And right when Zegras goes out too, jumps right back into 1C spot there. And dude, the kid was having a fucking 15 points in 23 games so far this season. I know Bedard's been all the talk, but Carlsson and they're managing his load and all that bullshit. But I'm saying he's been fantastic. So I'm excited to see managing his loads.
It's just a fun way to say it.
That's how they say it.
Load management, baby. It's true.
But yeah, so I'm excited that he's back in the lineup quicker than we thought. And maybe if he catches fire, heats up that Rookie of the Year race like we were talking about last week.
Absolutely. It is, he has been fantastic, and the load management does look like it's going well. And, when you look at Bedard, him, and Fantilli, it's, they're all cruising along at a pretty impressive pace. So it's great to see him back in the lineup. Speaking of Fantilli and his Columbus Blue Jackets, we've got a trade request, dude.
Yeah.
Elvis Merzlikins of the Columbus Blue Jackets has officially said, I want out. Get me out of here. He doesn't like the way he is kind of bumped down in the rotation there, in the pecking order there. So we've talked a lot about guys like Gibson, Markstrom, possible goalies on the move here. Where do you see this ending up? And is Merzlikins a guy, to me, Merzlikins is a guy that I'm not a team picking up Merzlikins and being like, boom, number 1 tendy here.
Yep.
But what I do see is a team like LA, who has the Copley news, which is brutal.
Yep.
And that might be a good offer, a little bit of help to Talbot here down the stretch.
So very well said, Dan. For me, it was and first of all, I do want to say this too. I love this. I don't want to see the NHL ever become NBA-ified, where it's guys are just, the inmates are running the asylum and they get to pick wherever they want to play and form super teams and demand trades left and right. But goalie specifically, but really in any position in hockey, this to me is a good thing. This can be a win-win where you're like, hey, some other guy got the job and you like his game more than my game right now, and I would like to play because I believe I can start. So move me somewhere I can play and then get something back to help your team, and everyone's good. So yeah. I'm happy this is happening for Elvis. I view it the same way you do, in that almost like the Kings last year is a good comp with the Korpisalo thing, where you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't know that he'll be. I think when the Kings brought Korpi in last year, they didn't know he would be the playoff guy, but thought he might be, he could be. And I would imagine that's a similar attitude about Elvis's game.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries me about that is or any team that would hypothetically do that, is you got to spend big to make money, to make a real cup push. And all these teams we've been talking about for a fucking month now, that's like, dude, you're a goalie away, you're a goalie away. Go get your goalie then. I'm like, go fucking, you're going to have to give something up. It's not easy. Yeah. It's painful. But, like, do you want to win a cup? Because these, like, tiny deals for Band-Aids for, like, semi-backup goalies, and they're like, well, we made our move. Yeah. I'm like, you're not better, dude. You're not significantly better.
I look at it like, I look at goalies like I look at quarterbacks in the league now, where I'm like, in the NFL, obviously, where if you don't have a good one, you're fucked. And we talked about Adin Hill. A couple people were like, the Knights won with Adin Hill, and Adin Hill stinks. And we were like, wrong. Adin Hill's like a top 5 goalie in the league statistically, so you're a moron. Mm. You really have to look pretty hard.
Well, Kemper. People kept saying Kemper, too.
Yep, and I was going to say that's the one.
Yeah.
But you really have to look pretty hard in the last 10 years at a team that's won a cup without a really strong goaltender. So I'm shocked, and maybe they are.
Yeah.
We talked to Dregs about this, and he gave us some little info, but I'm shocked that more teams that are that goalie away, I would be fucking calling GMs every day. If I were the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I were the New Jersey Devils, if I were the Hurricanes, if I were the Red Wings, I would be calling Boston every day, all season long, about Linus Ullmark.
Give me Ullmark.
I would be like this, what do you want? What do you want, and when can I give it to you? And if they keep going like this, we're not moving him, fine. But I would literally call them every 2 weeks and go, hey, just checking the temperature on this. Because it does feel like, to me, there are a lot of teams, I just named 4 of them, that you would think if they got a legitimate goaltender, it's like, whew, that is a huge step up. Agree with you. Why don't they do it? And I hope they do here. I hope we see some fireworks. And we might hit the trade deadline and it's nothing that crazy. But fuck, man, I would be making every possible move. Because, we've talked about it a number of times of if you're certain teams, you can't really offload first-round draft picks that often and assets that often. But you do kind of have to look at it as the trade for trade. You know what I mean? If you see a guy who either has term or in your talks leading up to it says, I'm going to sign long-term here. It's like the Tkachuk, it was obviously in the stars, but when he gets traded to the Panthers, he then immediately signs.
Yeah.
And if you've got a situation like that, where they're going to be there for a bit, whether it be with term or signing a re-up, you look at that as the first-round draft pick that you move, that's your draft pick. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's especially if you've got a 23rd overall pick and you trade that for a certified first-liner or a certified starting goaltender, you justify it as going, we used our first-round pick this year on that.
Yeah, right.
And you pray for that to be the case.
Yeah.
So it's like, if Jesus Christ, man, we talk about like if UC Saros, if Jacob Markstrom, who's obviously a little bit older, if John Gibson in a new situation starts playing like he has in the past, all of a sudden a first-round pick gets you that guy for the next several years. You go like this, we used a first-round pick on a starting goaltender for the next 4 years.
Yep.
You've got to be happy about that.
Yep.
So I think some of these teams that need a goalie should absolutely
swing bigger. I think Elvis is going to move because he wants to move. It behooves the Blue Jackets to move him, and he'll go. But swing bigger.
What do you guys think about the trade, not official trade request, but this agreement to find him a new home? Do you think I think with this request, he's basically now set him up for a buyout. I don't think he's getting who's trading for him?
Right. So they might not do it.
Depending on what it is, but I don't think that there's a trade. To your point, I don't see anyone going to Columbus and giving them this package that they're like, oh, sick. I think it's going to be like, you can have this and we'll take him. And again, the Kings are someone that I'm like, I wouldn't hate that move. Mm-hmm. Is Merzlikins an upgrade on Riddick? Yeah. Probably. Yeah. But you're not given like a second or third round pick for that. No way.
He's signed for 4 more years, including this season, 4 years at 5.4, and he's 29. He has had the worst season this year and last season of his career. So he's on the downtrend. He's demanding more ice time. He's now looking for a trade. And with all these other goalies out there, he might be playing himself out of the league come September.
Dude, I don't hate the take, especially barring a big injury. Like if the new need is created really bad. But even then, to your point, I'm like, he's not playing.
I think there's other goalies I would trade for way before I'm
trading
for this guy.
Before.
Don't get me wrong. He's had some great years. He's been a good goalie in the past. But what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. You just hope you get you'd have to pay less.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the only win for him is, like, teams are like, I'm giving up way less to take a chance on
You take his best performances, like, a couple of years ago, and you look at that cap hit, and you're like, yeah, that's worth it.
Yep.
But the way he's playing now, absolutely, 4 more years of that, disaster. So, yeah, it's interesting. We just talked about Jacob Markstrom. Obviously, we tweeted earlier this week, or over the weekend. You saw Kevin Weeks talking about it. And today, news broke that Jacob Markstrom was pulled off the ice during practice. Blake looks like he didn't know that. Pulled off the ice during practice. Yep. However, there was no confirmation on why. Could have been an injury, could have been a personal thing, could have been a trade thing. Yep. We don't know. But Markstrom, like we've talked about, 33 years old, I believe. And Blake, what is he at? He's at $6 million?
$6 million, including this year, and then 2 more seasons after that at age 33.
Yeah. Markstrom is a great goaltender. Mm-hmm. We're not going to talk about Markstrom because we've talked about it. We are going to talk about the Flames.
Yeah.
What do you think is going through their GM's head right now, and what do you think the move is here? Because we've got Tanev, we've got Hanifin, we've got Elias Lindholm, and we're going to include Jacob Markstrom. Those first 3 guys are guys who are UFAs after this year. All have been rumored on the trade mill. Dregs mentioned them as well, and now Markstrom, all of the stuff is happening with. Are we in full TNT dynamite blow-up area?
Yeah. Yes, according to me. I would love, and I feel bad because they looked so good. What was that, fucking 2 years ago when they had that 6 series with the Oilers? And I was like, damn, Alberta is like shaping up to be this epic run.
And I think that series, that loss to Edmonton was so monumental. I think that was the turning point
agree.
For that team. That's when Tkachuk decided.
And Gaudreau, they were like, we're out, dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
So it makes me sad because that felt like it was going to be something really cool. Mm-hmm. I also love Hubie. And he goes there, and I'm like, and I love Lindholm. I've said that a million fucking times. So I'm like,
what's fun? Sorry to interrupt, but what's funny is they're 6th in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. Sounds bad. They're 4th in wild card.
Yeah,
and they're only 2 points back from Seattle and Edmonton. Now Edmonton has 4 games in hand. Yeah. So fucking Edmonton's in first place. Basically.
Yeah, correct.
But like they're not out of it like the Wild or the Ducks or Chicago is, but it doesn't feel like they're going to make playoffs. Well, are they going to leapfrog any of those teams? I don't think so.
Me neither. And here's the bigger problem. To me, they feel like... Because you look at the roster with those guys. I mean, I know some of them are free agents pending here, but you look at that roster, and I'm like, oh my God, you're a great team. What are you doing? But to me, they feel like what happened to the Wild this year, if that's the Flames next year, and they're just worse, that's not surprising to me at all. This team feels like... their fans maybe want to go retool. Like, we're missing a couple pieces here, and then we're right back in it. And I'm like, oh no, I think you're not back in it, and you're going to slowly slip into madness. Mm-hmm. So you'd be better off jumping off the bridge now to begin the rebuild. Like, the sooner you can begin the rebuild, do it. So, like, if I'm them, I'm like, dude, this is all over. Start again.
Remember last year when Washington traded Orlov to Boston and Hathaway, and everyone was kind of like, whoa, are they bowing out? Because it felt as if they were still in a playoff hunt. I think Calgary could be looking at a situation where they're like, we're not eliminated, but we're not making it.
Yep.
And we always talk about, you need those conversations. Are you talking to Hanifin and Lindholm right now, and you're going, are you coming back? Because I would be asking them that right now. And if they are like, I'm not going to sign, I'd trade them fucking yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just crazy town to not do it now. Let them gel with their new team as soon as possible, and you get ahead of the game before the frenzy starts. Be like, what can you offer me if you want this guy? Mm-hmm. I think it is high time that Calgary accepts their fate with these guys if it looks bad, and just ship it all out, dude.
Yeah.
Ship it all out. These are guys who are UFAs. Move them now. No question about it for me. Some bad news in the league. The surging Colorado Avalanche have lost one of their best players for the time being. Valeri Nichushkin has entered the player assistance program again for a second time. So Blake and I were talking about it earlier. Last year, Nichushkin left during the playoffs and missed that first round against Seattle, missed all those games as they lost one of their top forwards. He currently, I think, has 42 points in 40 games. In a very balanced, I think he has like 20 goals and 22 assists or something like that.
Yeah, and he started slow this year. We were just talking about this, and then has been firing.
Yeah, he is an absolute beast, but definitely struggles with some substance stuff. He released a statement. I'll read it right now. But Nichushkin has said I have made the decision to seek help and enter the Players Assistance Program. My goal is to address my issues and prevent any negative outcomes once and for all. I want to thank my wife and family, my friends, the Avalanche organization, and all of our fans for their understanding and support. I will do everything I can to get back on the ice and join my teammates as soon as possible. Now, you look at Colorado and how good they are, and hopefully you look at this situation for Nichushkin. He spends a few weeks, several weeks, whatever it is, gets things under control and comes back, even before the deadline, certainly before playoffs. But at the very least, you would think he'll be back for playoffs and hope certainly he's back for playoffs. But brutal. And it's brutal that the guys go through stuff like this. You never know what's going on at home. So first and foremost for him, you wish him all the best, hope he gets the help that he needs. But as the Colorado team and fans go into this final stretch of the season here, that's a brutal blow.
A lot of production going out the door.
Dude.
That first line is so good, as we just heard. But that's a lot of production on the second line there. He's been really one of the drivers of that second line.
Yeah.
Now, the Avs are a veteran team. Well, they're a pretty young team, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's an experienced team, probably a better word. They're still a stacked team. And minus the surprising Jets, they've still been right there as the class of the Central. So, certainly you're not like, well, the Avs could miss playoffs. Not that you said that, but I'm saying like they're fine in terms of just get them back, get your shit together for playoffs. You might not be fine trying to win the Central, which you'd rather do, obviously, than try to catch the Stars or the Jets or something in the first round. So you got to worry about that. I think if he does come back, which I really hope he does, I think he will come back. He will seamlessly slide back in. They won't miss a beat, and they are almost even more dangerous than you expect because you kind of fell asleep on them. So part of me wants to write this off as like, dude, rooting for you, get better, and like this is fine. Sometimes though, like one of those line changes messes up so much because like someone from the third line has to come up and you didn't realize the third line had the chemistry that they were really working with, and then everything starts to unravel a little bit.
Talk about it last year, dude. Yeah. Like you think that could have been the case last year? I'm sure it was. I'm sure it had something to do with losing to, a up and coming Seattle team. Like that was fucking crazy.
And no promises, right? Like the way different thing, obviously, but everybody last year was like, well, then Landy will come back and then whatever. And then he just doesn't. So you can't be sitting here like Val's coming back for sure because maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye on, absolutely. And a bummer to hear because you just hate to see the repeat thing happen. And like you said, there's a lot of stresses going on with these guys that nobody knows about. So bummer to hear.
You think Landy comes back?
Yes.
He was skating.
He's skating.
It's
fucking
currently
sick.
skating.
I mean,
that knee is absolutely mangled.
It's just bone on bone.
Yeah.
Just starting a fire in that kneecap.
It truly is.
Yeah.
God, I would love Landy to come.
Yep.
They should not. I mean, I'm sure they're thinking, but if he feels like he can come back, game one of playoffs, dude.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Yep.
And then come back then.
But he's coming back. I'm sitting here. Landy's coming back. Val's coming back. Everything's fine.
Colorado, though, I'm not buying at the deadline.
Oh,
no way.
Hell no.
Like you don't have the prospects to ship out for that. You won the cup 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Take a year to give it a sec. Like I'm looking at their lines right now. Joel Kiviranta, Logan O'Connor, those guys are not second liners. They're great players. They're not second liners. Jason Poulin, I have no clue who that is.
Yeah.
Andrew Cogliano, great player.
Yep.
Should be on the fourth line. Curtis McDermott, he plays defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just look at their forward depth, and I'm like...
Yeah, how's that going to feel come in playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're poised right now for another first-round exit.
No. They are top-heavy, though. They are top-heavy, I will say that.
God, fuck, man. You put Nichushkin and Landy back in that lineup, and they are a weapon.
It's insane.
Unless they win the division, like, you get in the first round against Winnipeg or Dallas...
Tough one.
I'm not picking that
team. And that's why it's tough to... like I just said, maybe Val being out for an extended period of time cost you the division. You're still good, but like, the Jets, you couldn't quite keep up with the Jets. Now you pay for that big time.
You really did hope Rojo would be more of a second line center on this team. I don't think when they scooped Ross Colton, I loved that pickup.
Yeah.
They did not peg him to be a second line center.
No.
So I've heard a lot of Elias Lindholm talk with this team.
He would look awesome.
Oh my God, dude. But I just don't think they can get him. So
their cap situation is going to look really good in the summer with that increase. So maybe if they don't get Lindholm at the deadline right now,
wait for summer. Yeah. Lindholm, to me, I've heard a lot of teams that have Lindholm on their list, Boston, Colorado being two of them. I don't think either of them can afford him now. I think Lindholm's going to do what O'Reilly did, do a trade at the deadline, go to a new team, but not re-sign. And then re-sign in his long-term home somewhere else over the summer.
Yeah.
Is what I think is going to happen with that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Right.
Speaking of hopeful buyers at the deadline, let's talk about New Jersey. We're going to get into this later with our Saucy predictions because they burned me a little bit.
Yep.
They're riding the ship a little bit. They've had a few great wins here in their last 8 or so games. Tough loss to the Bruins, got blanked 3-0 today on Monday, MLK Day. But talk to me about where they are in the standings because they're right up against the cap too, right? I mean, they don't have that much wiggle room. They're
working with chump change.
Right now. They've got $780K of. Or wait, go back up. Their cap space is $420K.
Yep.
So it's not like they can make all these crazy moves. Vitek is a disaster. Schmid is literally in the AHL, I think, or is he? He's up and down.
Yeah, he's been up and down. Yeah. But they called up that Nico Daws.
Nico Daws.
He's had a couple of good starts. I think
fucking cost me my mega. Yeah, the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yep, that was huge. He had a great first period against Boston tonight. I think he's made something like 16 or 17 stops in the first period alone.
Dude, so here's actually all I want to talk about because we've talked about this in the Met before, and the Devils certainly have been one of the disappointments so far this year. Tons of health issues. Jack's hurt again. Goaltending issues. Blah blah blah. What I want to talk about, and is something that Blake wrote down, which I thought was such a cool question. Does this core benefit from a down year? Now, obviously, you don't ever want to waste years of people's primes. You don't ever want to miss the playoffs. Blah blah blah. But what do you think happens to the psyche / morale / grit of this squad getting this total gut check, like pee whack, like, oh shit, we actually aren't that awesome compared to what happened last year?
I don't think it's bad. I don't think this is going to be a setback, but I think heads will roll. I think Lindy might get tossed if they don't make the playoffs. That's one to keep an eye on right now.
Yep.
I'd like to circle back to that call.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's good. I think they had such high hopes going into this. They've got a lot of people that are hurt right now. Look at that injured reserve list. Like they've got some tough people who aren't playing right now. Yeah. I don't think this helps them. They've got some people. Colin Miller, Brendan Smith are both UFA, but they're both low cap hits. The big one for me is Toff. They haven't extended Toff. Mm-hmm. Toff is playing at 4.2 mil, I think, something like that, and he is a UFA. I thought the second they scooped him,
long-term deal,
and it hasn't come. And this is not just because he's a friend. Toff deserves a 5-year contract from someone. Mm-hmm. He is such a high production winger. He is a great locker room guy. I'm shocked that they haven't given it to him yet. I imagine they will. If not, that'll be shocking. But I think this is bad, not terrible. It definitely does. This benefits nobody, dude.
Yeah.
Like Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, and we'll even call it Luke Hughes. I mean, they've got Nemec on he is such a good defenseman. Yeah. He might be better than Luke, honestly. It's crazy. So their future is so bright, but it's also shining already. This isn't, to me, Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are not two guys that needed a setback, in my opinion. They needed to stay right on track, and they've both had up and down injuries this year, which is fucking brutal for them. But this season has been inexcusably bad, and I think so much of it goes with goaltending. Their goaltending has been so disappointing, but this is brutal, dude.
Yeah, if
they miss playoffs, it's a fucking meltdown.
So I think you're right. Hearing you talk it out, all I was going to pitch was if they sneak into a wild card and get bounced in the first round by the Panthers or whoever whatever one seeds are there. In my head, that was possibly worse for them than missing the playoffs and having some fucking come to Jesus reality check moments.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear you that probably it isn't. Like you want more playoff reps and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it's not, you don't quite quite face the music on some of the issues if you keep like, well, we got in and like, we took the Panthers to 6 games. Like, we're right there, boys. We're right there. We just had a slow start. Like, if you fucking bomb out of the playoffs, and it's not even just heads will roll, but sometimes heads will roll. Sometimes you're like, yo, I need to work harder in the summer. Like, we did not do enough over break to get better. We were resting on our laurels a little bit more, and you learn that lesson harder and quicker with a really bad season.
Who did they lose to in the second round? I thought it was the Hurricanes. I don't remember.
The Devils?
Yeah.
Yes, it was the Hurricanes.
They lost.
But I'm just saying this year. Like, if they make the playoffs and they're like, if they're like, we took the Panthers to 6 games in round 1. Like, what? We're right there. I'm just like, dude, it's almost better to have missed the playoffs. And it's like, yo, fucking.
How so?
Well, no, I'm saying I think you convinced me otherwise. But for me, I'm like, if this Devils team gets into the wild card, loses in the first round, they go, well, not that much has to change. Like, we got to get a little bit better, but we're right there. And I'm like, if you miss the playoffs, they all go home and go, boys, this is a good team, and we wasted a fucking year, and everyone get on your shit right now. I'm not sure that's right. That was kind of where my head was going.
It's not as crazy of a take as I initially thought. I don't agree with it, but that's not that crazy. I kind of look at them like the Canes. I said last year and this year certainly. Time's up, boys. Like, if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you got to get into the cup with this with this core, with Rod the Bod behind the bench, with the way that you've performed. Like, you got to take the next step. And I look at the Devils based on their performance last year as the Canes of 4 or so years ago, where it's like dude, they were the best team in the Met last year, by many standards, and came and had that electric win against the Rangers, and then fell in the second round. But it was like, we gave them thumbs up.
Oh yeah,
like, what
hell
a
of a year.
Season. Missing playoffs, like that is like awful, guys. What the fuck?
It's awful.
And a first round loss, I would be like this. That's a step back, boys. Like, that's a bad step back. But this is awful.
Yeah.
So it's and I think specifically for Jack and Nico as the leaders of this team, and Jack, I mean, I know he's been injured, but as a face of the NHL now, no. Boo. This is bad. Like, you can't this is really bad. Yep. You can't do this.
I more mean that they would benefit from a down year in the terms of that core needs to kind of learn how to win and lose. They need to kind of gain that maturity. Like, Jack Hughes is 22 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a child.
Hischier is 25. And then those two guys in the back end are 20 and 19. Like, they are all phenomenal players. They can get even better with some learning experiences. If they keep having success all, throughout their young career, when they get that first taste of adversity, they're not going to be able to handle it. I think that's more what I mean. Like, obviously, everyone wants to win.
No, I hear it. I mean, I think a good comparison is the Leafs. The Leafs, you look at their core of young guys of Marner, Matthews, Willie, Morgan Riley. All they do is perform in the regular season and then get dick punched in the first round. And it doesn't. It's the joke every year, right? Classic Leafs. Here we go again.
We'll try one more time.
But you don't really face the music, if you will, all season long, every single year, because they're buzzing, and all the Leafs fans are like this. We did it now, our year. We're going all the way, and then the same shit happens. But you come back, and boom, you're in the playoffs again. People are happy. I could see what you guys are saying here. Of like, this is a serious pee-pee whack for these boys that might wake them up a little bit, but. It does. I stand by. I agree with that while also saying this is unacceptable. You can't do this, dude. Like, I'm not sure Devils fans are as rowdy as some of these Canadian-based fans that they're going to really let them know. But, dude, Lindy Ruff's one of the greatest coaches in NHL history. I love the guy. But if you go into this summer as this Devils team and you miss the playoffs and you're like, dude, that was bad. Let's regroup here, and you don't do anything. That's also unacceptable. Like,
which wouldn't, right? Like, that's kind of what I mean. Where
heads need to roll for this.
First round exit,
not okay.
Heads don't roll necessarily. Yeah. Miss playoffs, heads roll. Yeah. So I'm like, sometimes it's for the best.
Yeah.
I mean, they're third last in team save percentage. So I mean, you look at that, and it's like,
who's behind them?
The Carolina Hurricanes and the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, fucking
shocker,
brutal.
The Carolina Hurricanes, but I mean the Sens.
Tough bid there, though. Yeah.
And then you got above them San Jose, Buffalo, Minnesota, Chicago.
Buffalo.
I mean, shut the fuck up.
Christ.
I mean, good God, Carolina. Look at where they are in the standings. Carolina is a team. Like, if you put a good goalie on that fucking team. Dude, yikes.
That was unlucky, though.
Yeah. Okay, let's strap on the Buckies and get into some hot ice. Start with our boy Shane Pinto.
Yep. Dude, we kind of talked about this when it happened. It's just such a shitty story.
Yeah.
Last year in 82 games, he had 20 goals, 15 assists for 35 points. It was his first full season.
Yeah.
He'd been played before, but it was his first full season. And you're
20 tucks, dude.
You're certainly coming into this year being like, step up. You know, we did that Calder thing where it was like everyone comes back a little bit, but you were expecting 50-something
50, 60. I wanted 50,
points
60
from Pinto with pushing 30 goals, 25 goals. And to lose that production, the Senators have plenty of problems, per something Blake just said. But those holes aren't...
That goalie stat
sucks.
And looking at the big...
Because like
Korpisalo. And if you remember, I was like, I'm not sure that does that much for them.
But even you weren't thinking this. Like, I wasn't saying Korpisalo is now sick. I was like, Korpisalo will be exactly what he normally is.
Yeah. I mean, I picked them to finish 7th in the Atlantic.
Yeah, fair. I just like...
But I didn't put it on the back of... Because Korpisalo is going to be a disaster.
And I'm like... But yeah, so the 50 points, dude, in the and I'm making this up because he only had 35 last year, but in your GMing brain, a projected 50 points isn't a super easy hole to fill on a roster, in an NHL roster. You know, you don't just bump someone up and get 50 points a year. So yeah, first of all, it sucks. The whole thing sucks for Shane. His quotes were crushing, where it was like, it's absolutely heartbreaking to be away from the game, and I feel awful. And I'm so happy he's back playing now. Blake, you had phrased it like, is it too late? 100%. It's way too late. They're fucked, and they're missing the playoffs.
It's a tough situation, too. I mean, you look at their lines, Brady Tkachuk, Grieg, Giroux, Bad Vlad, Stutzel, Batherson, Kubalik, Cartier, and Matthew Joseph are their top 3 lines, and like Shane Pinto fits right there where Cartier is. Yep. And I'm like, dude, they are stacked.
Yeah, no, they should. This team makes no sense to me. They're kind of the Canucks of the past few years, where I'm like, how are you possibly bad? Yeah. And they are. But there's no Shane Pinto is not fucking Gandalf appearing on the light of the 5th day to save this fight. Yeah. But I'm pumped he's back. I'm pumped he's back to get him playing and get some reps, dude. I think if I'm him, not that you're obviously, it's a team game, you want the team to win, but if I'm him, literally take all your projections and all your goals that you had, cut them exactly in half, and try to hit those. Like, see if you can get 30 points this year.
Get 10 tucks.
Yeah, exactly. And then just be like, whatever. We're going to figure out, if we're sellers at the deadline, we're sellers, figure out what the team looks like moving forward. But just try to get some good reps in the second half.
It's a funny one for me where we talked about it. Him getting gassed is absolute dog shit for what happened. I think, can I say this out loud, what happened? Because people know now. But,
it's public.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's public. Basically, all that happened is Shane asked his buddy in New York to log into his DraftKings account and set his fantasy football lineup. That's it.
Yep.
That's all he did. And I think it is absolute jackassery that this kid is not allowed to fucking play DraftKings fantasy football. It's not his sport. It's completely different.
But to be clear, those are the rules. And like, the rules are you can't, and he was.
And if you want to set the rules and you want to
give
give him a slap on the wrist, fine. But gassing half a season for him, dude. 42 games, 41 games that he was not allowed to play, that's fucking crazy. And it's an interesting situation where he's coming back, and I'm sure that there are diehard Sens fans who are disappointed in him and all that. But this wasn't a Sens decision. This was a league decision. So I imagine there's zero ill will for Shane getting back. He's so psyched to be back. It's not like he's like, hey guys, this is awkward. I'm sure they're pumped to have him back. And I really hope that the Sens fans are like
behind him,
screaming his name when he steps on the ice.
Yep.
We're going to try to get him on the pod here to talk about it. And he said that he wanted to get a couple games under his belt, which hell yeah.
Understandable.
But it's a huge addition for them. And I hope he just hits the ground running, the ice skating, if you will, because he's such a good kid, and I think he's a great player, dude.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
I think he's...
Super bright future.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, tough circumstances. And I mean, with sports gambling becoming such a new thing in so many new areas, like, it was kind of bound that something like this was going to happen.
Oh my God, dude.
And, like, it's a terrible situation, and again, we don't agree with the rule or the way it's laid out, but I wasn't that surprised that a player got caught something like this.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just because of how new everything is, and it sucks because I think sports in general. I don't want to throw the NHL into this solely, but I think they kind of made it a little bit of an example out of him.
100% they did,
like
dude.
They were, trying to scare other players away from doing anything remotely similar to this.
Yeah. If you're like a top player on a top team, you saw that and you were like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like I know firsthand, I'm not breaking any news here. I know firsthand there's a lot of guys in the league that are gambling every day.
Yeah.
And this is the type of thing that makes you be very, very careful.
Yeah.
I wonder,
so, for the record, any boys in the NHL listening, do not have anyone log into an account that has your name on it in a different city, because you will get fucking gassed.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, all the betting services and apps, they have like automated ways to flag those kind of instances that, like, hey, so and so is a pro athlete, they're playing here on this night, and then their account got some activity in New York, but meanwhile they're in California playing a game. Like, there's systems that are literally in place to.
Dude, we talked about this when this broke. Whoever the fucking snitches DraftKings,
fucking delete that shit.
Dude, here's computer.
Here's the thing. I wonder what his lineup looked like. I wonder what the roster looked like.
Yeah.
Especially was nothing as good as mine. I took home my first ever fantasy football belt this year.
Who was it? Who was it on the back of? Who was your stud? Who was your workhorse?
Isaiah Pacheco or Raheem Mostert. I had the first overall pick, took Justin Jefferson with, and then he missed half the season.
Disaster. Wow, that's an incredible win for you.
To win still?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, dude.
And I knew nothing about football like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Just a fanatic now.
Hey, good job, dude.
Let's get back to the better sport, though.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to circle back to this before we move on to the next thing. We're talking about the Devils. Mm-hmm. There are three gentlemen that I would like to speak on. And as we said before, we never would talk about someone's livelihood and their job. Yeah. But saying with this Devils performance, I think Lindy Ruff's on the hot seat.
They were trying to fire him halfway through last year.
Yeah.
And then they got hot.
Not even half, dude. Remember, it was like 5 games.
Yeah. And then they were like, actually, you can stay.
Fire Lindy. And then they started chanting, sorry, Lindy. I would like to, this is just me talking. I've heard nothing on this.
Yep.
I would like to put Lindy Ruff
I accept.
On the hot seat.
I accept.
And there's 2 seats next to him, and the 2 gentlemen that I would like to join him there are Sheldon Keefe of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I potentially accept.
And Todd McClellan of the Los Angeles Kings.
Do not accept.
I'm telling you, dude. I think those are 2 teams who are drastically underperforming. And I think
like right now, you mean?
Yep, right now. They're on the hot. Dude,
they're having great seasons.
I think going into this season, the Leafs are in 3rd place in the Atlantic, and they're pretty settled in 3rd place. I don't think the Panthers are at all threatened by them right now. Boston's not at all threatened by them. They have so many games in a row here where they have absolutely choked on their own cock and lost. And I look at that Sheldon Keefe interview after that Colorado game where he is double wristering, glucking the Colorado Avalanche. He's like this, when you're out there and you're playing against Nathan McKinnon's line with Makar and Taves out there, that's not the NHL. That's something else. Dude,
look at your roster.
Shut the fuck up. You just choked so badly in that game, and then you are out there just servicing their top line. Dude, not it. Yeah. And I don't think that is acceptable. And I think you just can't be having the talent that you have on this Maple Leafs team with the record without having a little bit of heat up your bum. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's getting axed, but I think his seat is hot.
And I thought Keefe should have been fired last year. So that's why I'm like, I think I accept, just because I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What did you made all these changes and you're the same team.
Yeah.
So maybe the problem was there. So that one I'm with. Todd, dude.
Todd for me is
I think you're out of pocket on that one.
The Los Angeles Kings just got a big win today. Huge win today against who the hell were they playing? Carolina, yeah. I think that in the last 10 games, after looking like one of the hottest, dude, one of my saucy predictions to start the new year was I think that they're going to go to the Cup.
Yeah.
And then Jesus Christ, they start this year, they're 2-8 in their last 10. They're now 3-8 in their last 11. Yeah. But they went 2-8 in 10, and they look brutal. And I think Todd McClellan's in the last year of his contract. I just think if they don't right the ship here, and it started today with a big win, but the next 10 games I think are very important for him.
I'll hear you that the dip was crazy. I mean, they have the 7th highest win percentage in the league still, even after going 2-8. And that does not get a coach fired by any means. But I hear you. If they free fall like out of the playoffs, then there's a fucking serious conversation to be had.
It's not even that, dude. It's it's again. I'm saying your seat's hot here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're on the chopping block. Your seat is hot though. All I'm saying is that McClellan is not sitting there like this. We're in a rough patch. Whatever, we're fine. Yeah. I think he's sitting there being like, Jesus Christ, we got to figure it out here, because remember we talked about last year they lost to the Oilers, and you said, do you think this is a setback year? And I said no.
And I agreed with you.
If you lose in the first round as this Los Angeles Kings with how good you have been all year, someone's getting fired.
Yep.
As they should be.
As they should be.
Let's kick it over to a Western Canada team and talk about the Vancouver Canucks. Blakey asked the question, is this team real? And it's funny timing because we did a little special edition Hockey Talk today, and someone said, what is the realistic expectation for this Vancouver Canucks team? And I look at the Western Conference, and I personally think it's, for them, for these boys, I think it is Western Conference final or bust.
Really?
Yeah. Whoa. Oh, my God. I don't think this team has any fucking prayer of making a playoff run.
I know,
and I think they're nasty. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think that they have way better depth than people realize. I think they've gone through a few tests already this season. They slipped for a little bit, and then they went right back to their winning ways. They are shit pumping teams. They have 5 fucking all-stars. I think with the look of it, we've got a Jack Eichel and Mark Stone injury that. Jack Eichel, by the way, that injury might be very bad.
I can't even talk about it.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Praying to God our boy Jacko's fine. But Vegas has been slipping. Kings have been slipping. We've got this Colorado news with Nichushkin. Other than the Jets, I'm looking at the West. It's the Canucks and the Jets, the 2 best teams in the West.
Yep.
Dallas is having goalie troubles. Heiskanen's out for a little while. Dude, I think this team, and listen, if they lose in the first round after being as bad as they were last year and then being this good, getting into the playoffs is a win. You have won the season.
Oh my God.
No doubt. But I think if this team, how they're playing, loses in the first round, they are very disappointed. So again, I'm talking about them. I think those guys are looking and seeing how they're playing and how they're performing, and they're all going like this, boys, we can make a run here. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you. I'll say this. We'll have a couple things here. The Panthers are a plus 25 this year. Stars plus 26, Avs plus 27, Bees plus 30. And then the Jets plus 42, Canucks plus 54. Yeah. Like head and shoulders above the other squads. Yeah. So I agree with you. They are doing it on both sides of the ice.
Yeah.
Special teams, everything. They're wagons.
Can I see their cap space, Blake?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. The 0. Bang. $0.
They're a money in, money out team like that. They made their kind of trade with that Zadorov move. That's when they had some cap space. Now they obviously don't. But I know they have some contracts that they want to move out, like someone like Connor Garland, someone that they could trade at a 4.9 cap it for the next 3 years. Could move on from him. I know they've been rumored, and they're looking at upgrading their top 6, so probably that second line.
Well, dude, on that topic, can you go back to their lines? Because that's what I wanted to highlight. They, just like we were talking about with the Avs a little bit, you look at their top line and you're like, holy fuck. And then you kind of go down a little bit and you're like, oh, I see where teams could beat you here, you know? Yeah. And this top line is fucking going off this year.
Oh my God, dude.
JT Miller, PD, Brock Besser.
All stars.
All dominant.
Weapons, dude. All well above point per game.
Incredible, right? And that...
Then you have the best defenseman in the league.
Yeah, truly. That can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Goalie.
Yep.
So
after Swayman.
You see in the playoffs, though, because the Bees did this with the perfection line forever, where it's oh my God, that line's for fucking 100 goals. Yeah. More, whatever it was. And then the top D pairing goes out against them every shift in the playoffs. You slow them down a little bit, and then you can't win.
Absolutely.
So one thing I wanted to keep an eye on, and I'm kind of arguing against myself here because I just said I don't think this team has a huge chance to make a run. But, dude, Andrei Kuzmenko last year.
Weapon.
Absolute weapon. He was 26-year-old, first-year NHLer, 81 games, 39 goals, 35 assists, 74 points. Okay? Through this year, he's played 37 games. He has 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points. He's on pace for 17 goals. He's on pace for 42 points.
Yeah, very
massive
very
step back, right? Okay? But here's one thing that I flagged, dude. Last season, he took 143 shots. I'm on a shooting percentage kick. If you guys
you
haven't
sure
noticed.
are. But it's nice, dude.
He took 143 shots last year and had a league high 27.3 shooting percentage, which is fucking moronic.
We talk about this all the time, dude. Guys got tape on him now.
Yep. But, dude, check this out, Dan. In my mind, when I went to look at his stats for this year, I was like, I bet his shooting percentage this year is fucking 8%. Like, he's Matty Kachucking himself. His shooting percentage this year is 14.3, which isn't bad at all. That's kind of in the range. I think Pasta was like 16, whatever. That's kind of in the range.
He's not getting shots.
Dude, he's only taken 56 shots, on pace for 124. I'm like, shoot the puck, baby. You had damn near 40 tucks last year.
Well, it's got to be a line situation.
Agree.
Right? Because Besser was out last year for a huge portion. And, you're looking at Mikheyev, Pius Suter, and Kuzmenko on the third line.
Yep.
And, Kuzmenko is a guy that I'm like, dude, bump that boy up.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Like, if you move Garland, even if you traded Garland for a typical third-line guy, I would do that and move Kuzmenko up. Like, I'd be like, boom, that's my switch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trading for a second-line goal scorer. I have one on the third fucking line.
Yeah.
Move him up, bring in a third-line guy. Because we've seen it a million times before. I say this about Blake Wheeler all the time, where he was just buried on the third line asking to do things that wasn't his skill set. And then he finally went to Winnipeg and got a chance to do that and then was fucking nasty.
Yeah,
so
Kuz to me is a guy that drastically benefits from a great center.
Yes, dude.
Set him up with a really good center.
God. And with the proof in the pudding last year, I'm not even asking them to take a flyer on the kid, like being like, dude, trust me, he could score 40. I'm like, you literally know he can score 40. Fucking go. Let him live.
And when you look at this lineup, to Blake's point, and you want to beef up their top six, it's center.
Yep.
Like a center would really be an interesting ad here. And dude, I mean, you look at that Zadorov trade, it would have been fucking fireworks if they had figured out a way to get Lindholm too.
So anyway, if Kuz starts going, this team becomes even scarier to me because we've definitely played long enough in this season that top line is what they are. You're going to get everything from them. You're going to get everything from Quinn. And they have the potential to go even more nuclear. So they're very much real. But that being said, I just I don't know that they have the playoff chops yet. I know it's not like automatic, but it just feels like a real thing. Yeah,
I'm being reactionary when and again, I'm not predicting them to go to the Western Conference Finals or bust. I'm saying I think this group of guys is having that conversation amongst each other. I mean, you're this good, dude. Mm-hmm. You want it all, and it's going to be first time playoffs for some of these guys, and that's a huge thing. So the discussion is this team real? I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I do not think that this is they're first round and out. Like Thatcher Demko is no slouch, dude.
He's not.
I don't think he's the guy either that's going to get to the playoffs and be like this, oh my God. Mm-hmm. I think these boys are going to be okay. The one knock that I have on this team, we got a little inside info this weekend, and we're not the first guys on this, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you haven't heard it anywhere else. There are serious conversations being had in Vancouver that Elias Pettersson is not re-signing. That is, again, we are not the first people to say this, but it's something that came up this weekend from certain people, and it's being talked about a lot, and it's not those conversations aren't stopping. He's a restricted free agent, so they're not at risk of losing him.
Yep.
But they are at risk of him going Matty Tkachuk and going, guys, I'm not coming back. And dude, I can't think of anything more devastating for this team after being so brutal last year, not, with the talent on the roster underperforming, and then finally figuring it out this year, naming Quinner as captain, having this great new identity and being one of the best teams in the league, and now your top forward goes like this. I'm out, dude.
Yeah.
I think they offer him. I think once they get down to it in the summer, they gotta offer him like Nylander money.
Dude, well, I was gonna say he doesn't want to resign till he sees fucking 8x12.
Hold on. This is a great conversation for the three of us here. Elias Pettersson is worth way more than William Nylander, in my opinion. He is what? He's 4 years younger.
Yeah, I was going to say how old he is.
How old is Petey? 22?
25.
No, 25.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm way off on that. But he's two years
Willie's
younger.
27. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
2 years younger. He had over 100 points last year, much higher than Willie's ever done, and he's got where is Petey in comparison to Willie right now?
Willie right now, I think they're pretty neck and neck.
Yeah, they got to be
Willie
super close.
is around 57 as well.
I got you right here.
Yeah.
And I know that, and it's been reported externally, but he doesn't like negotiating during the season.
Yeah,
like he wants to just play and not talk about it, not talk to his agent. So the season's gonna end, and this is going to get heated
very
fast,
very heated, very fast. And
Willie 57, PD 58.
Okay, so he's all right. So he's already, it's one more point, but he's got more points than Willie.
Yep,
he's younger than Willie. He had a better season than Willie last year. I mean, he's asking
center.
He's asking for 12.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, maybe he doesn't want to resign till he sees 8 by 12 and a half in front of him. And he's like, okay, actually, that sounds pretty good.
And I also think that the Sedins are going to get in his ear and really convince him to stay and be like, look, you're going to be the leader. This is going to be your team, your city. Take the bag and play here.
Yeah.
Because, like...
Twist my fucking arm.
That's the thing, though. I think you're right.
Yeah.
But how didn't they do that this summer? And the question comes down to this. Because that was being talked about a ton this summer. They wanted to lock this up, and they didn't want it to be a conversation at all, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of rumblings it was him going, no, I don't want to resign,
right
yet. But I always think that's tough. So maybe Petey was going like this, dude. I balled out last year. I think I'm going to do it again. I'm betting on myself, and I want to get the fucking bag.
Yep.
So maybe that's what happened. But all I'm saying is we're hearing, and I'm not calling a shot here, but we're hearing a lot of conversations of the stall here is him being like this. I don't want.
And it's not the first time we've heard it
Yes.
either. So that's very interesting.
So that will be crazy. And if it happens, it will be a blockbuster trade. Like this will be a absolute stud for absolute stud. And who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But
he'd look great in a Bruins jersey.
Oof, we can't afford him. Actually, I mean,
in the offseason.
We could.
In the offseason.
What the fuck would you have to give up for that?
Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No, well, not even
them,
like not to
yeah.
them. Like, I mean, fucking A. If that would be like
you don't even have the piece. I mean, you could. Actually, I don't even know if you have the piece to get him. Like, straight up, I don't think there's anyone on the Bruins.
I think that's
trade.
that's at least. I mean, it's one first round pick, probably two, and it's like Lysol, Patra, and maybe
you could do it. It could happen.
It'd be a fucking ridiculous haul, though.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's making my head spin. I can't even think about it. Jesus Christ, that would be insane.
Stir the pot.
But yeah, that is one to keep our head scratching on.
Yep.
So you wanted to hit us with one more thing.
Just last thing, I was thinking in my head about these top teams, these really contending teams in each conferences that are showing some wear and tear. So let me hit you. I've got 5 of them. Here are the last 10 games from these 5 teams. Stars 5-4-1. Kings 2-4-4, and keep in mind the third number is a loss. It's just a loss in overtime.
Yeah,
2-4-4. Vegas 3-7. Rags 4-5-1. Leafs 4-4-2. Awful 10-game stretches.
Yeah, brutal stretches.
Of those, and the other ones, by the way, are firing. Fucking Jets are 8-1. But, everyone's doing well. Of those 5, who are you like? I'm actually a little bit worried about you.
Yeah. All right. From least worried about to most worried about, I think I'm going Leafs.
Least worried about.
Yep.
Okay.
Just because they are what they are.
Yep.
Like I you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sorry, Blakey, but like, nothing's changed.
Yeah,
like,
this is same old same.
Yeah, this is just it.
January.
They're
this is called January
in fucking Toronto. There's nothing's different. Leafs, Stars, Rags, Kings, Vegas.
You're most worried about Vegas.
Yes, no, because of Jack.
Oh, right, yeah, fair.
If this Jack, we heard some. Again, we don't know anything, but if the Jack Eichel injury is bad, then I think that is why I would flop those two if I had. If it was like Jack will be back by playoffs at the very least, then I'm flopping him. But if Jack is a bad injury, then I'm very worried about them.
Because Vegas was going to be my least worried about, but if Jack's 4 weeks,
Cup runs wear and tear on you, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not right off the bat, but like here we are. We're in the latter half of the season. We're in 2024.
They're just banged up.
They're banged up, but that's part of it.
I'm still putting them at least.
Like, when is Aiden Hill coming back? Because Logan Thompson's been struggling.
Yeah.
He's a great goalie, and he's solid, but he has been struggling since.
And he's a head guy. He starts struggling, you worry about the mental side. So
yeah, I'm still going Vegas least. And if Jack's really crushed, then whatever, we'll reassess. But like, I just think they're really hurt right now, and it doesn't matter. Like, they just need to be healthy for the playoffs, and they'll win the fucking cup again. So I'm going least for Vegas.
I love that. We're so fucking...
Yeah, and I'm actually going second least on Kings, dude. Like, they aren't worrying me either. I know this is an awful stretch, but those teams don't worry me. And then I'll put Leafs third, because you're right, it's just the Leafs. Then second most worried about the Stars, because they've been playing bad too, but they're also a little hurt.
They have a winning record.
They're hurt.
They have a winning record in their last 10, and Heiskanen's week to week. He'll be back. And that is one, though. Like, Heiskanen's one of those puzzle piece guys where, like, when he's out, they are completely
it's crazy.
It's nuts. To the point where Dallas, if they're looking to add anything, you should add defense. Because, like, holy shit, dude.
And then I'm most worried about the Rags, because they lost 4 fucking straight. They just won, but they lost 4 straight for the first time all year. I'll get into this a little bit more later, but if you look at the Rags, where they are in the standings with the Hurricanes, and think about how the season started, you must be like, wait, what happened? Like,
dude. Yeah. And the high that they were riding, those fucking fans, man. Oh, dude. They were levitating.
Yeah. So, it's like, I'm kind of like, I thought the Rags were going to be pretty good, and they are playing pretty good. Like, I think they're not bad. I'm just like, now you're playing, this is who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's got me stressed if I'm a Rags fan.
For sure. I'd like to just, my Kings explanation is, because those are a couple of bad bounces, right? 2, 4, and 4. That could easily be 6 and 4. Mm-hmm. So the worry for me is the goalie situation.
Yeah.
I just think coming down the stretch here, like, you just can't put too much of this weight on Talbot. Mm-hmm. A 36-year-old Talbot's shoulders. I need them to figure something out there. All right, let's kick it to this Darren Dreger interview. Obviously, huge stud in the hockey world. Breaking news all the time. So fucking cool. Loved our chat with him. Let's get into it. Hope you enjoy.
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by a Saskatchewan native, a former voice of the Brandon Wheat Kings, where he was briefly co-workers with Mr. Hockey himself, I might add.
Yes, indeed.
A former voice of the Manitoba Moose, the 2010 Gemini Award winner for Best Sports Reporting, a backyard rink enthusiast, and current TSN hockey insider, Darren Dreger. Welcome to the Empty Netters podcast.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Man, you nailed it. Like, I mean... I've been asked multiple times, well, take us down the path. Like, how would you get to being a hockey insider for TSN? And it probably takes me the better part of 10 minutes to explain, all right, well, I stopped playing hockey. Here's what I had to do. Here's what, I started here in radio and went there to TV. Yeah. So you did that in 40 seconds. Very impressive.
You just keep that recording. You can use it. You can hit playback every time you need it from now on.
Good.
Next time someone needs the elevator pitch, just be like, oh, hold on 1 second. And you'll play that recording and it'll be perfect.
Yeah. Awesome.
One thing that popped out to us immediately, we're big Celtics fans, and we saw that Doc Rivers gave you the nickname Double D, and that is pretty special.
That's pretty sick, yeah.
It's a pretty special feather in the cap.
Bizarre story. I mean, it may shock you or not, growing up in Saskatchewan, basketball fan, NBA, expert. No, was not that. So I land on the network scene at the time it was CTV Sportsnet back in, I jumped in 1998. So whatever year we're talking about, it was just after that. But, I was doing hockey. I was the national host for the NHL on Sportsnet. And, there are varying stretches over the course of the season where, they needed a seat filled here or there. And Scott Moore, who was the boss at the time, said, hey, I'd like to branch out. You're the hockey guy, but maybe we can do a little bit more. Would you be interested in subbing out and hosting some basketball on CTV? And I'm like, don't know much about it. I played high school basketball. I'm like 5'10". I wasn't very good. It was rural Saskatchewan, so it wasn't high quality, but why wouldn't I? And so, I did 2 or 3 games. And one of the first games I did, we do a conference call with Doc Rivers, and he's done a little bit of homework and he can put 2 and 2 together. Darren Dreger, Double D. And instantly we're on this call. And whoever the producer was at the time says, hey, Dregs, I'd like to introduce you to Doc Rivers. And all we hear is this, Double D, how are you? And so whether or not he coined the double D, again, pretty obvious. Darren Dreger, Darren Nichushkin, he gets double D all the time. So anyway, it kind of stuck. So I'm willing to give credit to Doc Rivers. I'm good with that. There's a connection there I wasn't expecting.
And he's a guy with such a well-known and famous nickname. You know, if a big nickname guy is giving you a nickname, then you take it and you roll with it. Yeah,
exactly. When you get it in that vintage Doc Rivers voice too, that's that's going to stick with you. But you kind of just touched on the story of your beginnings and stuff, and I wanted the listeners to kind of get a little framework of how you got to where you are. You obviously went to Western Academy Broadcasting College. You got job offers right out of school. Started reporting on the Oilers, and then you wound up at Sportsnet, and then. 2006, you end up at TSN. What was that journey like? How did it all come together? And even before that, you went to a broadcasting school. How early in your life and your career did you realize that this is what you wanted to do?
Probably not until I got to Edmonton in 1997, 98. And I was part of a startup station there and was doing a little bit of everything, including hosting NHL games with the Edmonton Oilers. And the Oilers, more or less unexpectedly at that point, made the playoffs. And so I was part of the travel and doing live TV. But, you go back then, doing live TV, unless you were part of the actual production, was an ordeal. So I got a taste for it. I had a real good rapport with the team. So I had excellent relationships with a number of the players there. And I just thought, maybe there's more to this, because there were so many missteps along the way that I wasn't really sure. I grew up, as we have already established, in a farming community. So back in the part of Saskatchewan where I was born and raised, you either were part of a farming family or there were potash mines. Right. I don't know if you guys have heard of potash, but I mean, there were a number of mines in that area. So you either worked at the mine or you were farming or you got the hell out. Those were the three options. Yeah. And I didn't want to farm. And my family was on the cusp of kind of getting out of farming. Just, my stepfather wanted to retire and all of that stuff. And I knew I didn't want to, go underground and mine for potash. So I'm like, all right. And I also knew that my hockey career was over. It was pretty simple. Late teens, it was done. I was not going anywhere. And we were driving to the city, Yorkton, Saskatchewan. I don't know how many people live in Yorkton now, but it was as small as a city can be to qualify as a city. Yeah. At the time, that was what Yorkton was. And I heard this ad on radio for this Western Academy. And I'm like, I got a big mouth. I got a strong opinion. I can chirp with the best of them. Yep. Maybe I need to investigate this. And so that was the path that I chose. But to your point, I didn't really know I was in it for the long haul until that run with the Oilers in 97, 98. And while we were in Dallas for that playoff run, I thought it was being punked. Because the trainer comes out, and this is before, not everybody carried a cell phone and all of that, right? So the trainer comes out, we're in Dallas, and he says, "Hey, Dregs, there's a call for you in the trainer's room." I'm like, "Pardon? Like what? Yeah. I'm not part of the team. I'm working with the assembled media here." I go in there, and it was Scott Moore, who was the head of CTV Sportsnet, and he's like, "How come I have never heard of you before?" I'm like, geez, as far as opening lines go, man, that's a tough one. You're, and I still think I'm getting punked here. But it was a TV executive in Edmonton who happened to be friends with Scott Moore, who said, "Look, I'm going to send you a tape." And back then, that's what it was. It was like a big beta 3-inch tape, whatever it was. It was the size of the laptop I'm looking at now. And this guy viewed the audition or the game that I did, and couple of months later, he said, "I want to bring you to Toronto." And honestly, that was a huge stepping point. And then I just got lucky after that and landed at TSN. And here we are today.
It's unreal. When you were maybe even before Western, maybe after Western, but when you started to get into the play-by-play stuff right away, were you like, "Oh, this is way cooler. I want to do this." And that was a hard pivot out? Or were you like, "Oh, I never even wanted to do the play-by-play. It was just the opportunity that I had first"?
I had no idea, to be fair. In listening to radio and watching TV and all of that, I didn't have any aspirations. I knew I wasn't going to be a good enough athlete that I was going to be able to advance in that category. But I thought, the sports world generally is drawing me. And, I grew up again in a small community where it was hockey or curling. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with curling, but you can't make a living doing anything media related, really, for the most part.
The play-by-play is a little different.
Yeah, and I did it. I did play-by-play of curling, both on radio
I need a clip of that.
TV.
I feel like being a curling insider, there's not that many scoops you can really come up with. So.
Yeah, no, it'd be tough. But, again, as I edge my way through, so now I'm working in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, right out of Broadcast College. And I was doing some work with the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but I was more of an analyst than I was a play-by-play guy. But I did get to do a couple of senior hockey games, believe it or not, in Saskatchewan.
Nice.
And I ended up getting a job in Brandon, Manitoba, the home of the Brandon Wheat Kings, as you mentioned earlier. And the rights changed. And, I'm this low-level sports guy at CKLQ radio in Brandon, Manitoba. And they're like, well, we need somebody to do play-by-play. You want to give it a shot? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Why can't I do that? And I loved it.
Wow.
Absolutely loved it. Then, kind of things progressed from there. And I had a short stint in TV in Brandon, and then moved to Winnipeg. And the Winnipeg Jets, not to drag you through that old saga, but obviously, as you remember, they leave to go to Phoenix to become the Coyotes. And so now what do? And I was literally on the cusp of leaving the business because my wife was a school teacher in Brandon, and we're like, what are we doing here? I'm not making any money. Like, we're spinning our tires. So I just started the real estate course. I was going to quit it all and become a real estate agent in Brandon, Manitoba.
No way.
And while this was all happening, I had the opportunity to do play-by-play for the Manitoba Moose, who changed from Minnesota to Winnipeg, from in the International Hockey League. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And that was after doing some play-by-play again of the Brandon Wheat Kings. So I got a taste there. And then when I moved to Sportsnet, I actually did a bunch of Ottawa Senators games. But, it's such a transient business in terms of how much you have to be away from home and all of that I just kind of, honestly, it was the relationships that I made in Brandon in working with the Brandon Wheat Kings, the relationships I made in Winnipeg. These players that I dealt with in junior hockey became pros. Right, and then they became coaches. And then they became executives. And all of a sudden, information is coming my way. And I kind of morphed into the role of being a hockey insider. So it was a land-filled sort of, or a minefield sort of path, but I guess I made it through.
And that is just, that's such a cool journey, but the way you lay it out, it does make sense. It's cool how you sort of morph into these new areas. And I am curious, do you feel like you ever miss the play-by-play?
I do a lot. And really it's changed considerably over time, but when you're a play-by-play guy for a team, it's the closest thing to being part of the team without actually being part of the team, and be it a manager or a coach or a player. I mean, the investment isn't the same. I mean, these guys, their blood, sweat, and tears, their job is on the line, like virtually, in segments of games, and you don't have that level of pressure, but you do get to ride the highs and then you ride the lows, and the creativity that these people show in painting the picture always intrigued me. And what happened, as soon as I called my first game back in the day, then I started to listen and appreciate, the nuance of what they were saying. And my brain started to think about the sport or sports in general differently, right? Because you're literally trying to, create this visual image, even though unless you're watching on TV, you're listening in your car driving home, you don't have that luxury. So I think in many ways it helped me a lot. It did, not just the relationships, but just the storytelling that went along with it.
Absolutely. And I think you're so right. It's why you see so many of these play-by-play guys get rings when their teams win a cup, because they really are part of the journey, and it's a huge investment. And then they become so important to the franchise. I think that's awesome.
I will say too, Dregs, that it's not that you wouldn't have become the biggest play-by-play guy on earth, but those jobs don't open up that much. It's kind of a tricky career because these guys just do them forever till they retire. So I love the pivot you were able to do based on the relationships you were building while doing play-by-play. That was a really cool progression.
Well, very lucky, to be fair. And I think back at all the greats. I'm not sure you guys would be familiar with the name Kurt Keelback, but he, for anyone listening, just Google him, because he'll take you back to the day, and he had this just electrifying, booming voice, and his goal calls were just off the charts. And I knew I wasn't that. And I think of Van Earl Wright. You guys remember the old sportscaster back in the day. And I was like, I don't have that sort of theater in me, but I think I have that level of passion. And I certainly have that want to learn more. And I think I have the knowledge to carry on. But then you get to the network level, and you're surrounded by people here in Canada. Bob Cole, legendary, absolute legend. Chris Cuthbert, who currently does the games on Hockey Night in Canada here. Gord Miller, who's a really good friend of mine. I've traveled all over the world with Gord, and I know that I'm not that. I'm not in that category. I probably would have never have gotten in that category. I think I would have been good enough and connected enough that I would have landed a team job. So,
cool.
There is a little bit of regret there because of what I stated, a couple of minutes ago, in that once you're in that team experience, that team environment, and it's hard to beat. But I'm good with where I'm at, and I'm very grateful with how things have turned out over the years.
Yeah, you're doing a damn good job of it too. Do you ever feel like when you're in the shit during the trade deadline and stuff and things going crazy, do you love that moment? Like, are you buzzing with all the excitement, or sometimes is it overwhelming and you're like, Jesus, I should have been a fucking farmer or something?
Yeah, both, man. Like all of the above. When you're in the moment, it's a high, because you're chasing. I would say that it was more gratifying prior to social media. Now we're going back for you guys, maybe. I don't know. Like, we're going back.
This is a cool take. This is a cool take. Yeah, keep going.
But it is, because those were clear kills. And I know that sounds graphic, but you were connected. And then those contacts would deliver a trade or a signing or a firing or something like that. And you either, you posted it on the website, or if you were affiliated with a radio station, you'd break it that way. Or if you were lucky and you had all of the above, you do it on TV, the website, and radio all at the same time. Well, now it's very fleeting, right? So, you post you post a breaking trade or something that happens on X or your social media channels, and it's basically out the window, right? And 30 seconds later, somebody else is coming in with more, and then just the response, the reaction from the fan base kind of takes over. So I don't have the same sort of jam that I had 10, 15, certainly 20 years ago. But I can tell you, man, when you're surrounded by the best in the business, and Bob McKenzie's a good buddy of mine. He is my mentor. He's the reason I kind of went down the road that I did. He calls himself semi-retired, and I guess he is, because he doesn't put in the same amount of work that he once did. But you're in that studio, and Studio 6 at TSN is monstrous. Like, it is a movie type studio in terms of size. Yeah. And you've got multiple desks and so many different personalities and people coming in. But the truth is, they're kind of relying on us to be the heartbeat of the day. I mean, James Duthie and our group at TSN are super talented. So there's the entertainment aspect that comes in with all of the people that they bring in, the fun that we have and all of that. But, trade deadline doesn't happen unless you've got your trade breakers who are actually delivering the information. So that day is fun. Free agent frenzy, July 1st, is fun.
Yeah.
What I don't like, and I stopped apologizing, but honestly, the first 10, 15 years of my career, like at network TV now, I would send a text of apology to all the general managers, because it would take me 11 months to repair the damage that I did in the month leading up to the trade deadline. Because you're carpet bombing everybody, man. You're pestering the snot out of you're not going to, like, I would literally send general managers a text. They wouldn't respond. Another one wouldn't respond. Another one. Then I'd come back and say, I'm going to pester the living shit out of you for the next hour. So you're either shutting your phone off and you're not getting calls from other managers, or just answer my freaking question. And normally they answer it that way.
That's a strategy, man. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
100%. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing.
That's fascinating, because I would have guessed the exact opposite, that it felt cooler to get scoops these days because of how easy it is to blast something out on X. But now that you say it, I'm like, oh no, it makes perfect sense that it was way cooler before, when it was like you go on your website, your TV thing, your radio spot, and actually have a break. Yeah. Perfect segue, Drake. So I want to ask you about this. As you said, the Bob father kind of going into semi-retirement. Yeah. But we both saw this comment that you said, I think it was about something maybe Bob had said to you guys, but it was that this isn't an individual sport, what you guys do. It's a team sport. You work better as a team. And I think from our POV doing this too, we had a similar reaction when we started, because the Spit and Chicklets of the world could have felt really competitive and been mean to us, but instead they actually were always reaching out and were so supportive and sharing stories. So I feel like most people think insiders like you, it's a really cutthroat thing and it's a very individual focus, but I love to hear you say that it's not. So could you just talk about that a little bit, the hockey community, how it helps each other?
Yeah, no question. I mean, yeah, sure, we're competitive, right? I mean, Frank Cervalli was a very good teammate and a good buddy. He still is a good friend of mine. You know, worked at TSN and now he's one of the head honchos of Daily Faceoff and puts out a tremendous amount of content. And I feel great for Frank because I know that's doing good things for his family. Do I want to beat him in the back alley? 100%.
Yeah.
Like a lot of time, because, you know, he's so good at what he does. And I'd say the same of Elliot Friedman and all those that we go up against. You know, look, I mean, I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by good people, and that starts with first of all, you know, your superiors who continue to invest the kind of money that we do at TSN to employ us all, but to invest in trade deadline and free agent frenzy, and you know, then you get good hard workers like, you know, Chris Johnson and Pierre LeBrun, but none of that happens, guys, without Bob. I mean, honest, like it doesn't. Like Bob made his way up. I'm sure when Bob started, in fact, I know because I've talked to him about this. You know, Bob was like a really good columnist. He was an excellent reporter, you know, big time reporter. And then the TV world got a hold of Bob and said, "Oh no, we can make Bob into something more than that." And, you know, then they realized, okay, well, he's got these terrific junior hockey chops. So let's morph that into the cottage industry now that is, you know, all the draft rankings and everything that goes into the building of the National Hockey League draft, which, you know, years and years ago, it was a day. And now it's become a yearly focus for so many people all around the world. So, you know, I'm proud to be part of something that has grown substantially over the years, but I say that, and I'm also worried about where we're headed. And you know, I took in a game. So I've got a 22-year-old son, was a good hockey player. We went to the Colorado-Toronto game on Saturday in Toronto, and you know, sadly, and I don't know if you guys consume information the same way he does, but he barely watches highlight shows anymore, right? Like it's all, everything is on your phone. So, you know, you want to watch goals, you want to watch fights, you want to watch anything that comes out of any sport, boom, there it is on your phone. And so I feel like I'm in some way, shape or form, from a TV and a bigger scale, I think I'm the last of a dying breed. There's always going to be insiders. It's just how that information is being dispensed is going to be way, way, way different than anything that I've experienced to this stage.
Definitely. Is there a scoop or a trade or something like that comes to mind that you always think of that you wish you broke a story on and it slipped by or something like that?
Well, there's a couple. So one that comes to mind, and it involves Bob. Bob broke the trade. And I guess it would have been Roberto Luongo going from the Vancouver Canucks to the Florida Panthers. Now, I mean, it's out there publicly. Dave Nonis, who was general manager of the Vancouver Canucks, I believe at the time, or, assistant GM. I mean, my dates are clouding here. Yeah. He's literally my second cousin. Like we're like by blood, we're related.
Wow.
My God.
And I always say he was terrible at giving me scoops. He was always good at after the fact. Oh, here's why we did this and here's why we did that. Mike Keenan was ahead of the Florida Panthers. And Mike and I worked closely together. We talked about me doing play-by-play earlier, and I did a number of games for the Ottawa Senators, and Keenan was the color analyst at the time. And, I mean, friendly to a point where we're visiting each other's cottages and things like this. Like, we were pretty tight. And I had worked on that trade for days, if not weeks. And I still bug Bob because he legitimately was hiding in a potted plant in a hotel lobby. Maybe it was Vancouver, wherever the hell it was. But he knew that this story was developing. And he happened to bump into Keenan or Nonis or whoever it was. He scooped me like there was he and I still have a big, he laughs. I don't laugh.
Yeah. It's much. Funny to him. Yeah.
But yeah. So that was one that got away. But the most nerve-wracking trade of my career, without question, was Joe Thornton to the San Jose Sharks from the Boston Bruins.
Go on.
And I wasn't an insider at that point. I was at Sportsnet still, and I was just kind of dabbling. I developed contacts, and I was doing some insider stuff, but I was still more or less a host. Mm-hmm. And again, this is pre-Twitter. This is pre-social media. So the way to break a trade was to do as I described earlier. You post it on .ca, you try and connect with your radio partner, and away you go. So I post this, and I'll share my source now, and I really shouldn't. I don't think I have publicly. Maybe I have in the past. It was the late great John Ferguson Sr., who I still have. He's one. I don't know. We've all lost people in our lives. I still have Senior's phone number in my contacts, and I won't delete it. And he's been gone for so long, but
that's awesome.
He's. I had talked to him a day or two before about the potential of this, and so he calls me and he says, "Yeah, the deal's done." And I got to remember, I should remember all of the components. I remember Wayne Primo and Marco Sturm, and anyway, I report this trade. And Bobby Mack, I'm not working with Bob. I'm at this, small, network called Sportsnet. Bob is at the Empire TSN, and I couldn't have been more panicked. And nobody is confirming it. We're not hearing anything out of Boston. We're not hearing anything out of San Jose. And it was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours before it was confirmed. So that was. It was both great, but probably took about 5 years off my life.
Yep. Worst 2 hours. Worst 2 hours of all time.
Worst 2 hours of all time. I mean, if Bob isn't reporting, what if I'm wrong? I'm done. I'm going back to the farm. Yeah. I'm going back to the potash.
Potash, baby.
Over. Yeah. There's no question about it. So, so a few years ago, this is before we were even doing the pod, but I think about this all the time. Through work, I had a mutual friend who is very close with Ron Burkle, and invited me to go to the Hollywood Bowl I think it was a John Williams show. And I'm at the Hollywood Bowl with this friend and Ron Burkle, who, thinks I'm just some random person, and just casually is talking about, and this is back when they axed Jim Rutherford.
Yeah.
And he said, sitting in that box, he's like, "Yeah, I'm done with Rutherford. I'm going to fire him tomorrow." Yeah. And I remember in that moment being like, "Oh my God, I have this information."
I could tweet this. Yeah.
And I think about that all the time, being like, I wish that had happened today. So I could just drop it on the podcast. It's so funny. But Dregs, I wanted to switch up from hockey talk a little bit and get into the personal stuff, because I saw that you whipped up an unbelievable tomahawk on the Pit Boss on Christmas Day. I'm a big cook, big Christmas Day cook too. I saw that. Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, oh shit. So I wanted to hear, is this like a casual hobby, or are you out there grilling stuff up all the time?
Because we love a Pit Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not casual. I'm constantly grilling. And again, my son Mason is, he's better than I am. He's got the bug. So it's a fun story. So, our Christmas is pretty small now. So I have 2 adult children. My daughter, Katie, is, she's about to be a lawyer. She's in her 3rd year of law. And then Mason is, he works at a brewery here in Canada, Sleeman Brewery. He graduated and works at Sleeman Brewery in Guelph. But again, it's normally just the 4 of us, and sometimes there's significant others. So we decide that, okay, we're over the turkey. Let's try something different.
Yes,
definitely. I've got an unbelievable butcher. I live in Brooklyn, Ontario, which is just northeast of Toronto. It's more or less a small town. Shocking, I know, but I live in a small town. Great butcher. So I ordered a tri-tip. Have you guys done a tri-tip before? Phenomenal, right?
Phenomenal.
Did a tri-tip on our buddy Traeger a few months ago. Yeah. And it was unbelievable.
You do it right, it's just can't miss. So I had pre-ordered this. And so I tell Mason, he's coming home from work, and I'm like, hey, do you need anything from Buckingham Meats? I'm picking up my tri-tip, and there's silence. And he's like, well, when are you thinking of doing the tri-tip? And I'm like, well, like Christmas Day, like that's probably. He goes, Dad, I got you a Tomahawk for Christmas. Like,
talk about the same page.
Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
Said,
so guess what I said, so what you're telling me is we're going to have meat sweats on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it turned out, but it was delicious. We had a bit of turkey, just a turkey breast, and then the tri-tip and the Tomahawk. But the Tomahawk, as you guys see the video posted, that was Mason did all of it. He started it, he slow cooked it on the Pit Boss, and then we seared it. We finished it on the searing plate, so it was tremendous.
It looked unreal. Did Tiny get a bite of any of that, or not so much?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, she would have got a little bit, but again, growing up in the prairies, we used to like the rib bone on that Tomahawk was, I don't know, like 16, 18 inches long. And she's a Great Dane, so you'd think that you'd be okay to throw the rib bone and let her have at it for a couple of hours, but can't do that. Strict instructions from the vet. Do not, you cannot feed your dog this, that, and the other things. Anyway, Tiny got a taste, but she didn't get the rib bone.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm glad you're treating yourself to some nice meats because, man, you are on the road more than us. And I got to tell you, the snack life of the Hockey Insider can get tough in there.
Oh yeah.
Brutal. I saw you, you went to the almonds, the bold almonds. We've been big on those. I like the salt and vinegars, but you had the spicy dill pickles.
Buddy. Like, and again, I work with the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, in studio a lot. And James Duthie is actually our voice of conscience when it comes to nutrition. I mean, but he goes about his own thing. He's a bit of a nerd. Like he drinks his green shakes and whatever. And I get it. I can appreciate that. And at my age, I probably should do a whole lot more of that. But then I'm drawn into the world of the dog. And as we're having this conversation, he texts because as we're recording here, so I've got Leafs and Oilers on Tuesday night. So Jeff O'Neill sends a text. Let me read it to you here. Oh, here he is. He's like, wondering what we're doing after the Sports Center hit. It feels like we should be able to get out and get a really good meal.
Those are the wins. That's
thinking ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
He's thinking ahead. That's good stuff.
Yeah. He's not thinking spicy almonds, man. He's going for like a big steak. That's what he's
that's a steak dinner.
Yeah, that's a ribeye.
Yeah. We did that with Army when we were
hell were we? Those guys know how to live.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Well, before we let you go, we want to hit you with some of the pressing stuff right now.
Sure.
Did you want to?
Yeah. So we've actually talked about the Nylander thing a ton on our show, so I don't want to beat it to death, but I just would love your POV because I saw the piece you did that was like, they're offering him in the offseason 8-9. Nylander's camp's like 11 plus, but maybe they could have got it done for 10.5 this summer if they'd gone there. So then they hold out. Nylander earns every cent of it, but he gets his 11.5 now. Just what are your thoughts quick on just the Leafs? They probably had no choice at this point, but what's your thoughts on their strategy of just, that's 4 guys at essentially 11 plus, how do you feel about all that?
Well, we talk about cap gymnastics all the time. And what that is, the general manager and their cap gurus and management in general just having twist and turn in trying to comply with the salary cap. Now, for Toronto, the advantage is that the salary cap in the NHL, not to bore everybody here, but it goes up to $87.7 million. Well, every dime of that is going to William Nylander, not the 87.7, but the increase in the salary cap, right?
Yeah.
But no, they didn't really have much of a choice, and nobody with the Maple Leafs brass is feeling sorry about themselves. I mean, it's a good problem to have. When you've got star/superstar players like Matthews, Nylander, Marner, Tavares, I think, is starting to slow down, obviously, a veteran player, but he's still a big part of the core as the captain. That's just part of doing business in today's NHL. And you hope and you expect that the cap will increase maybe another 3-4 million or higher the year after that, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility. But what it tells me is Toronto has to be in the win it now mode.
Yeah.
And by win it, we're talking about contending for a Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a challenge. They're not playing very good of late, but they didn't have a choice. I mean, Willie dug in the offseason. He wanted $11 million. Toronto didn't want to pay that. So guess what? The kid bets on himself and delivers.
Yeah.
He's a rock star. I mean, I use that term appropriately because Willie has the unique ability. He's like David Pastrnak with the Boston Bruins. It's just the ice water runs through the veins. They don't listen to the noise of guys like me talking. They don't get caught up in the hype when things are going well. They just get to the rink every day the same way. You know what? I love the game. I love playing. I love having fun. I love everything around the world of hockey. So I'm just going to go out and do what I do. And what he does is change games for the Maple Leafs. So money well spent for me.
Too. He performs in the playoffs as well. Yeah. So if you're going to bet on one of those guys, he's not a bad one to do it with. So it does make sense.
Agreed.
And then, it feels like this last couple of weeks, we had the Gauthier Drysdale trade drop, and now, there's some rumblings about Markstrom in Calgary. Merzlikins says he wants to be on the move. What are some names here coming up with the deadline creeping up that you think might hit the news of being on the move?
Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty slow, to be fair, and that's not unusual. Usually it takes us until about the All-Star break before, you start to see the pieces tumble a little bit. The trade between Anaheim and Philadelphia caught everybody off guard.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
You're talking about two highly, highly valued young assets in Cutter Gauthier, who I think is going to be a real good NHL player. Yeah. And then in Jamie Drysdale has already shown that, he's going to be a stud defenseman. And then, Philadelphia gets a draft pick on top of that, which is kind of a head shaker. So right now, aside from Merzlikins, who's requested a trade, or so he said publicly, I think we're looking around and you're still looking at your pending unrestricted free agents. Mm-hmm. And so Philadelphia has a couple, in Sealer and in Sean Walker. They've got a guy, Ristolainen, who's under contract, but they'd consider trading him. Calgary, of course, has Hannafin and Chris Tanev, and they've got Elias Lindholm, who's a coveted center. I'm not pushing back on the Markstrom trade speculation because, hey, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. But again, he's got a full no move clause.
Yeah.
If Markstrom doesn't want to get traded in season, and lots of guys who are in season with families don't want to be traded, right? They don't. Yeah, they're like, okay, I don't want to upset my family here. Let's wait until the offseason. Yeah, of course, Jacob Markstrom could get traded depending on what the offer is, or if Calgary dives, which I don't think they're going to do in the next, handful of weeks here before the trade deadline. So I get the speculation. I'm just not entirely buying it. It's kind of like the Trevor Zegras speculation, right?
That was my next question.
Yeah. He's hurt now, so it's kind of a moot point. But I was thinking of Zegras more in the offseason. Pat Verbeek wants to really turn things upside down in Anaheim, then you move a dynamic piece like that. But aside from that, fellas, I think it's more low-level stuff, to be fair. There's always teams looking for defense, always teams in the market for centers. But beyond the players that I've already talked about, it kind of gets pretty low after that, and the market sort of drifts.
Do you think because I feel like last year's deadline was chaos, like a ton of huge names moved. Do you think it'll be a big step down this year just because of the way contracts are shaking out?
Maybe, but I'm always loath to say that because
right.
You honestly don't know. And as we're talking here, we don't know. We don't know. Look at the standings.
Oh my God.
mean, we don't know who the buyers or the sellers are. It's nuts.
Right.
And every year it's kind of,
we were talking about it earlier. The Met is just, the Met could be completely flipped upside down in a week. In a week.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have any of these teams sort of heading into this deadline being like, well, we're definitely going to be sellers or we're definitely going to be buyers, because there's only a few teams that are definitely one or the other. So it's crazy.
And all it takes is an injury, right? Like somebody
great call.
loses a long-term defenseman or a center or whatever, or a goalie, and now they're in a not a panic, but they know that they've got to do something. And because it's such a cap league and the contenders are all capped out, right? That's why you wait until February to make your trades, because the salaries are getting paid down, the cap is being limited, and there's more flexibility in the system to make your deal. So you know what? We talked about the trade deadline earlier. For me, I'm going to have to do my stuff multiple times a week anyway. But would I prefer for March 8th, the trade deadline, to be busier? 100%, because it's good for me. It's good for our industry, and it's good for hockey, because that kind of gets the juices flowing among the fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're spot on. It does I feel like we're going to see a lot of depth adds, a lot of depth moves to kind of beef up teams middle six. And there's
some contenders with some serious goalie questions. And I'm not saying one will definitely happen, but there'll at least be that fire down the stretch there of will one of these teams make a move to try to make that final cut push.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Dregs, you're the best. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll let you get back to your day. But is there anything you want to shout out or give what's up to before we let you go?
No, you know what, boys? Thanks for having me. I appreciate the time. We're looking at a busy week. I mentioned Ray Ferraro earlier. We've got 2 podcasts each week, the Ray and Dregs hockey podcast. So we're working on some big guests for later this week, but he's always, the beauty of Ray is you get one of 2 versions. You're either getting surly Ray when he's tired, which isn't normally coming out of a weekend, but that's good Ray too, because, then he gets pissy and he starts looking at some of the stories around the league and he gets really opinionated. So we're going to post something on Tuesday. So look forward to that. And then we'll have a guest on Thursday as well.
Fantastic. Amazing. Yeah. So everyone make sure to give that a listen. No doubt about it. All right, brother. Well, you're the best. Hopefully we can chat with you soon.
Double D. Thanks a lot, man.
Double D. Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
That was our interview with Darren Dreger. Such cool insight.
That was really fun. He's a great guy.
I can't wait to have him on more. Hopefully we get Ray on some more. But just one of the coolest guys in the biz. Let's get into overtime. And I'm nervous.
We're going to do Armchair GM first.
We're going to start with Armchair GM, but as you can see if you're watching, we got a little bowl here, and we're going to get into the punishments of Saucy predictions. But Armchair GM, Blake, take us away. How'd we do?
Yeah, so after our first week of Armchair GM, Dan is in the lead with 34 points, and Chris is in last place or second place, depends how you look at it, with a measly 23 points.
Oh, you bummed, dude.
So the leaders of the week, based off of who you guys drafted, Swayman led the way with 8 points.
That's my guy. Love you, Jay.
And also Pasta also had 8 points, so clearly a Bruins fan, eh?
Yeah.
You guys both picked goalies that got shutouts. The one thing I think that hurt Chris a little bit is I think one of his guys only played 2 games in the week. So just things to think
something
about.
To think about.
And I think going forward, not this week, but in the coming weeks, we'll do some themes for these drafts. So maybe next week it's only European guys. Maybe the week after it's only guys on their entry level contract.
Oh.
Maybe it's something similar to that. So But yeah, hey, this week.
And what did we say too? You can't pick a guy back-to-back weeks.
That's what we're gonna do this week. You cannot pick anyone that was on your team last.
Can you read me my roster?
Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it both?
Yeah, either one of you.
Like no one you picked is available to me.
So the players that are no longer available this week would be Pasta, McKinnon, Breadman, Quinn Hughes, Morrissey, Swayman, Kucherov, McKinnon, Gensel, Dahlin, Makar, and Hellebuck.
Did you say McKinnon twice?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Sorry,
I needed to know.
Makar.
Yeah. Makar.
Okay, and who picked first last time?
I think I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, dude. Wow.
Can you read me the D that are unavail?
Dahlin,
Morrissey, Hughes, Dahlin, and Makar.
Okay.
No one took Nylander last week, right? We didn't actually do
Correct.
that.
Nope.
Give me Nylander. Was he left wing?
Right wing.
Right wing?
Okay, first off the board for me, I'm rolling with the hot hand. Give me JT Miller.
Okay.
Between him and Petey for me.
That's good, Dan. That is good. Let's see how many games they got. Yeah, okay. It's a pretty busy week, honestly. Yeah, that's just what you really got to avoid. Okay, I'll take Petey's left wing.
No, he's a center.
But isn't JT playing center on that line?
Kind of flip-flops, actually. Still
They're both listed as center on NHL.com, so I don't know.
Who'd you take?
I took JT. But it's a tough one, too, because, like...
You could take Petey still.
Yeah, but is that my center or is that my left wing? Or I get to choose?
He's playing left wing on daily faceoff, so...
This is bullshit, dude. That's fucking bullshit.
Well, hold on. I'm going to take Matthew Tkachuk.
Fuck you, dude. I was going to do that in your eyeball. That is some bullshit, dude.
That's how you play, bitch.
That's some bullshit.
That's how you play.
I think there's a better player on that team to take.
I know,
we'll
fuck.
see.
Okay, so this was going to be my next pick. What does Daily Faceoff have him as? Because I feel like he plays right wing, but he's listed in here as a fucking center.
Okay, I want to be cool. Actually, I think Daily Faceoff should be the
Daily
decider.
Faceoff is our decider.
It does get updated.
Hey, would you look
regularly.
at that? With my second pick, I will be taking Sam Reinert.
Okay, but also,
Florida
does that
Panthers.
mean I can't take Matt because he's listed as right wing here?
Oh, yeah, it does. Fuck you.
Okay, so I get to go back.
Yep.
I'll take Petey because he's listed as a left wing.
Fair.
And now because my right wings are taken, so I couldn't take either one of them.
I'm going to still go with Reinert.
Fucking spaz, dude. Okay, so I got let's see here. Give me... Do you think more games is good for the goalie because it's like more chances to get?
You're not going to lose points.
Right. Okay, yeah. And who would you take? Hellebuck and Swayman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Give me give me Sorokin. He looked nasty.
I like it. I'm going to stick in that team, and I'm going to go Noah Dobson. I almost took him last week. I'm taking him now.
Yep. Okay. Give me Matthews.
All right.
Wow. Okay, I think I want to go... I'm going to go with my boy Vince Dunn.
Oh, wait. He might have got hurt. I'm looking out for you.
You are.
Oh.
Is that true?
I think he just got him and
Did he
Benier.
just get hurt?
Yeah,
Today?
it was a surprise scratch. Check, though.
I think he's been on a heater recently. I'm going to stick with my hometown boys. I'm going Charlie McAvoy.
Oh, fuck. Good pick.
Yeah, he's been hot.
Give me Evan Bouchard.
That's a great one. Shit. That's a great one. Okay, so I need a left wing and a goalie.
Yeah.
I think this guy's also been hot. We're going to see him at the All-Star game. I'm going to go with Philip Forsberg.
Damn, good one, dude. Give me Victor Hedman.
Good pick.
That's a great pick. And then I'm going to round this out with, stay with the hot team, Thatcher Demko.
Good one.
Good pick.
Good one. All right, I'm down 11.
Yeah.
Down 11.
Okay.
A lot of games to go.
Now we're into Saucy Predictions, folks. Saucy Predictions is our new segment where Chris and I both make a saucy prediction that we're going to see play out over the course of the week until the next episode. Last week, I said that the Devils would be ahead of the New York Islanders in the standings, and I missed that by 1 point. So I don't know what's the Islanders score right now.
Oh yeah, maybe they're winning.
But I just barely missed it. They played today, and
Islanders getting pumped 3-0.
Look,
you would have had it.
How sick is that? They played today against Boston. If they had won, they would have been 1 point ahead of the Islanders.
That is an L for you.
But that is an L for me.
I had that Willie Nylander would have a 4-point night. He had 4 games last week, and I was like, he'd have a 4-point night. In his first game, he has 3 apples. Just missed it. And I was like, oh, no brainer. In his next 3 games, he goes pointless, like a nutless monkey, dude. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? So I should have had it in game 1. I did not. That is also an L. So before we make our new saucy predictions for the upcoming week, we have to eat this fucking hot sauce.
What if you guys get your predictions?
Good question, Blake.
I think
Should that mean then I have to eat it?
Oof.
Oh, wow.
I don't know that that's fair. Well, actually, maybe that is fair.
I was pitching that Chris, if I get it right,
he can also.
Dan has to eat my wing. Like you have to. Like if you get it wrong,
stick with that.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. There you go. I do want to point out real quick with the Islanders getting pumped. We're about to see Marc-Andre Fleury get past Patrick Waugh.
Yes,
hey,
God, he's starting today. That's amazing.
Let's go.
I almost made that my prediction. Cool. I know he's starting. That's great.
Amazing.
Okay.
All right. So Chris and I have a bit of Hot Ones last dab, the 10th hottest hot sauce here that we're gonna have to eat before we get into our...
Do I have to eat this whole thing, or do I take a bite?
You
I can smell it from over here.
It's
so bad, dude.
This is really hot.
I mean, it's good, I'm sure, but it smells like don't touch anything, dude.
Here we go. Congratulations.
Cheers it.
For our bad predictions.
Saucy predictions. Damn, dude. Fuck you. This sucks.
Do I need to finish this? This is a huge
No, just finish the bite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, this sucks.
Yeah. I think you have a bit of your bite still hanging off there.
Me or him?
No. CP.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, that was a huge bite.
Yeah, DP, you really went in for that.
Well,
I shouldn't chew in the fucking mic.
I know. Sorry.
Dude, it's the lips. That's what sucks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. I can already feel the hiccups coming. But there's the
it's like
there's the last dab down. If this isn't reason to make sure I don't mess up these saucy predictions again, I don't know what is. Because it's hot. My eyes are starting to water. I've got my saucy prediction, I think. Oh, my God. Should I go?
Yeah, go.
Put it down. Okay. My saucy prediction of this week, and boy golly, do I not want to mess this up.
Dude, I was just thinking that mine is too...
is...
I went harder than I should have.
I think Jacob Markstrom will be traded within the week. And if you're listening right now, you just heard Dreg say he's not buying that. He was like, I don't think he's moving.
Oh, yeah, that was actually a good data point, dude. Because I was going to say that this is a bullshit pick because it's too obvious. He gets pulled out of practice and Dan gets to be like, oh, he's going to get traded. And I'm like, no shit, he's going to get traded. Do I have to eat fucking 2 wings next week, you bitch? You're cheating. But then Dregs was like, he's not even going to get traded. And I was like, actually, fuck you. Keep that prediction. Don't touch anything, dude.
What do you think I'm going to touch?
I don't know. Don't touch anything. Okay, so that's it. He's traded within the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll give you a bonus second wing that I have to eat if you pick the team. No punishment if you get it wrong.
The Devils.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Here's mine. I think that
it gets worse.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. That's the problem.
I'm just melting here, and it just gets worse.
The Hurricanes are 3 points back from the Rangers right now. I just said this. The Canes have the Kings, the Red Wings, and the Wild on a huge homestand. They're going to get all 6 points.
Ooh.
The Rags have the Kraken at home, who are firing, and then a road trip to Vegas, LA, and Ducks. I think the Rags get a win and an OT loss. Go 1-2-1 on that trip, get 3 points. The Canes win all 3, get 6 points. And by the time we are recording next Monday, they are tied with points.
Does the Canes losing to the Kings today make you feel a little less confident about this pick?
Are they already losing?
They already lost.
They lost.
Oh, they lost, dude? Okay, I have to do this again because they literally can't mathematically do that anymore.
Oh, you were including that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot in my head we were recording before that game.
Dodged a bullet.
Okay, mine is the Sam Reinhart scored today already as a time of recording. He's currently 1 goal behind Matthews, 32 goals he has. Matthews has 33.
Okay.
Matthews has 3 more games this week. Reinhart has 2 more games this week. But I am saying that by the time we're recording next week, Reinhart will lead the league in goals, past Matthews.
Okay. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, putting a wing down on it.
All right. So predictions: Markstrom will be traded. Reinhart will overtake Matthews for goals. Amazing. Okay.
Anything else?
Nope. Did Armchair GM. Those are our saucy predictions. That's all I got.
Okay. I
got one question just for you guys.
Hit me.
What's your take on the leaked All-Star Game jerseys?
Oh my gosh. I think they're horrible. I think they literally look like a Crayola crayon box. Someone said to me that they like are pandering to the youngins out there, and like maybe the Gen Zers will love them.
Is it the kindergartners? They're pandering to the kindergarten.
Yeah, that's what they mean by youngins. I think they look so bad.
I should have fucking wet my
I love getting more celebs involved in the game. So like Bieber being around the game, people can talk shit. I think it's good for the game. But like this collab with Drew, which I think is just such a shitty ass. I think Drew's stuff looks so dumb. Yeah. And I think these jerseys look awful. Awful.
Like maybe make a hoodie and a T-shirt with Drew House. But
sure.
Why are we making the jerseys with them?
I don't know.
It's a good call.
It's like the Adidas, Bieber, and NHL All-Star thing.
I don't think they're awful. I think they're not great.
Yeah.
And I need to see them with the helmets, gloves, and pants.
As always.
Because that can save it. But I've seen in the past, though, sometimes they just do all black or all white, and I really don't want to see that. If we can get something that actually ties the jersey together, then I can make an argument for it. But yeah, as of right now, it looks like Timbits hockey All-Star game.
Truly, dude. My fear is they're going to do black pants, black buckies, maybe even black and color gloves, and just like the same color socks as the jerseys, and it's just going to be they're going to look like fucking. Colored pencils
camp.
out there.
You remember going to like a main camp for a junior team, and that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it's to me. I mean, last year they had the Miami Vice flare in it, but they did the throwback to like the '96. I thought those were so gas.
Might be the best.
Do more throwbacks.
That was sick. I forgot about that.
Do more throwbacks. All right, that is it for us this week at the Empty Netters podcast. We will be back next week. Let's see whose predictions come true. We're going to drink a ton of ice water right now. And until we see you next time.
Oh, actually, I had brunch today before we came here at Great White. It was awesome. And this kid came up to me named Dalton, and he said, "What's up?" And he loves our show and hopes I have a great brunch. I hope you had a great brunch, Dalton. Thanks for saying hi. And until then, skate hard.